The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's BWIR webcast. Today, we're going to talk about creating P&IDs with Creo Schematics. This is our Creo PTC webcast series. Here's just some information on how to participate today. Just wanted to remind you you're in listen-only mode, so we will read out questions in a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Here's today's presenters. My name is Beth Kessler. I'll be moderating the webcast today. I'm the marketing coordinator for the Product Development Solutions Group here at BWIR. And then we'll also have Zachary Yazel. He's our speaker today. He's our applications engineer for our Product Development Solutions Group. He'll be presenting the demo today. Here's a quick agenda of what we're going to cover. We're going to do a brief BWIR intro about who we are and how we help manufacturers as a total solutions provider. And then we'll go right into the P&ID demo with Creo Schematics. We're going to talk about the interface, pipelines, creating P&IDs, and much more. And then we're going to wrap it up and have a Q&A at the end. So a brief intro of BWIR. Barry-Wehmiller International Resources, we're the global engineering and enterprise consulting division of Barry-Wehmiller, which is a U.S.-based manufacturing leader with over 8,000 team members and operations worldwide. Barry-Wehmiller is going on 130 years of business and approaching $2 billion in annual revenue. So BWIR, our division helps manufacturers solve business and engineering challenges that impact their growth costs, anything to do with their risk, through the power of inspired people. Here's our core capabilities. Our customers see BWIR as their total solutions partner for engineering and enterprise. We provide manufacturers end-to-end solutions across the product life cycle, from offering the entire PTC product suite and PLM implementation and consulting to engineering, design, and development, and all the way through integrating your product design process to your ERP, your CRM, and other enterprise systems. Again, leveraging our 129-year manufacturing legacy of Barry-Wehmiller, we not only provide these solutions, but we're also able to help you maximize the business value of the technology investment. We help you advise on how to do lean manufacturing best practices in the actual manufacturing floor after these technology solutions are implemented. Here are some of the key offerings we have for our Product Development Solutions Group. So again, we offer the entire PTC product suite and focus also on PLM consulting, windshield consulting and services, from global deployment to upgrades, customizations, etc. A few more things about us too. We were selected as one of the fastest growing PTC partners in North America in the North American channel in 2013, and we're also certified as a windshield preferred partner with PTC. Here's an overview of some of our customers. We serve some of the world's largest manufacturers, along with some small to mid-sized manufacturers, and we're aimed at providing total solutions to their engineering and enterprise needs. So we hope to work with you soon, as well as your total solutions provider, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the webcast over to Zach, who will get right into the demo presentation. Zach, I'm going to go ahead and make you presenter.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Just tell me when you see it broadcasting okay.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Great. Okay. Well, my name's Zach Yazel. Welcome, everybody. It's a little weird because everybody's on mute, and that's okay, but there's a lot of people that have joined, and we appreciate you taking some time out to for your curiosity to check out this great tool. So I'm going to be demonstrating Creo 2.0 schematics today, but with the thrust about P&IDs, which are really short for process instrumentation diagrams. In a nutshell, piping schematics, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things from a high level, and go through basically the interface, talk a little about the meat and potatoes behind Creo Schematics, which really hasn't changed too much since RSD, but the workflow is much smoother. We're going to talk about pipelines, smart properties, and also talk about some different complete options with valves and that type of thing. So we also have the central catalog, which is a multi-user or single user if we want to, but we can, central catalog is used for multi-users, as well as managing the design in a multi-user environment. So we can search it, store it, share it, merge it, manage it, and export it, and we're going to cover some of those great areas today. So Beth, am I still sharing? Okay. So it looks like I'm still on. So tomorrow's webcast is we're going to be talking a little bit about the 3D side and spending another hour, so be sure to tune back in for that. That's tomorrow's lunch hour where we're going to take the rest of this and actually route it in 3D. So let's go ahead and get into the actual demo itself right now as far as the actual technical part of the demo. All right, so from a very high level, this is the interface. When you come into Creo Schematics, it's a tool that actually manages wiring diagrams, piping, block, and circuit diagrams, and it's really come a long way. I want to talk about from the main area just to kind of get through, for those of you who have not seen Creo Schematics yet, just some of the main areas, and then we'll get more into the piping stuff. So the first thing we have is the main user interface area here. You can have grids on, grids off. You can actually have the grids on and not shown in the view. So it's really nice to be able to drop your shapes in on a consistent grid spacing. That's one of the nice things it has. It has the consistent workflow from a user point of view, user interface. All of the Creo Schematics interface has, all of the Creo tools have a predictable ribbons and buckets of commands that are very easy to come up, not only ramp on, but are predictable and easy, very, very easy to use. So on the left-hand side, what we have here is a Design Explorer, what they call the Design Explorer. So this is the place, simply put, that you're going to manage and create new sheets in relation to this specific design. So this is design-specific area. And you can create folders, move them around, rename them, and it's all kept within this thing called the design, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. The Catalog Explorer is kind of, I equate it to basically a box of Legos, where you have all the things that you're going to need to make your diagram with. In here there are 2D shapes with ports like valves and reducers. We also have places that house your pipelines. So these are groups that we'll talk about more. But it's all very easy to browse, find, and then instance on your design sheet as you're working. Now, this Catalog Explorer can also be externalized, where you can do an external, where this catalog really isn't running on the user's machine, but it's really on the database or on a shared drive somewhere. And that's called a central catalog. So you can externalize this, and then there's a process around how to administer that, add new shapes, add new data, etc. Finally, I just want to talk briefly about the Data Table Explorer, which is the main area that manages and houses all of the data coming in. So for all of you companies on the line, you have specific part numbers for things like valves and fittings and things that you need to report on in a bill of material. Well, that's all brought in through basically Excel spreadsheets, CSVs, files. They can be complex and they can be simple. It just depends on what you're after, what your goals are. So that's a little bit about the mechanics behind it. What I've done is I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Creo 2 easy to customize workflow. Now, this is a tab that I actually created custom for this demonstration, but with a right click here you could see customize the ribbon, and anybody could do it. It's very easy. You can actually add new tabs, you can add categories, and you can actually hook these icons to shortcuts directly into the catalog, or you can also have them run map keys or have them actually run reports, which I'll show you a little bit about later. Once you customize it the way you want, you can then export this and save this out to a customization.ui file kind of similar to a config.win for you Pro E or Creo people on the line. All right, so the interface is easy. So what I've done today is I've actually designed a workflow specific to kind of this demo, but just use your imagination. You can actually customize this workflow for any type of job that you're doing. So if you're doing P&IDs today, whether you're using AutoCAD or Visio, show you how easy this workflow is. You know, I customize it. Basically, I start out with my vessels. I'm going to route pipes between those vessels. I can then drop reducers to reduce the line. I can add my valving. I could do other things like end caps. And then we're going to talk about reporting and some other things. So the first thing I'm going to do in a day in the life of kind of creating a P&ID is I'm going to go out here. Now you'll notice that when I hit that shortcut, it actually dumps me out to a folder where I can actually dig under other folders. So that's one way to do it, is to have a shortcut to a top-level folder that kind of gets you in the zone, and then from there the operator can retrieve what they want. I'm going to exit tool there, and I'm going to hit this other one. Another way to do it is you could actually hook it a lot closer into what you want. You could actually have it instanced directly into a certain thing. So you can actually say, if I want to instance a heavy pipe, which is really a group type, you notice that the Catalog Explorer did not open. It just went right for that object. So I'm actually going right into routing pipelines easily. So you can then move these things around once they're placed. It's very, very easy to manipulate, and so on and so forth. So we have a generic line placed down. The next thing I might want to do is, working over my workflows, I might want to do my my reducers, and I'm going to go ahead and place a reducer on the line right here. You notice it kind of breaks the line up as I'm placing it. Now you can then do, I have an update button pulled out, so it actually, what it did was it automatically received its name from the line that it was dropped on. So this is what I want to talk about next, is smart properties. And so one thing that sets Creo Schematics apart is that it has a lot of smarts built into it. So right now that is a 4A to 2A. I'm going to go ahead and go to properties, and so we're going to select from a data table that this is connected to in the catalog basically it's a mini database of objects that I can choose from on the job. So let's say that's a generic shape, but I want to apply specific information. So the size coming in is size 3. All right, so I'm going to go to size 3 here. And the new size coming out is going to be 2.5. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, that's the one I want, apply that, and say OK. And then, so you notice that my labeling updates automatically, but more importantly, this downstream one here, when I say update, it automatically inherited the correct size downstream from the port that it's attached to. So take that a step further. What I've done also is the naming convention for the objects put in this line automatically inherit the parent overall line. If I say select parent and go to properties on that main pipeline, I have the name being L1. So everything, the way I have it is I have it smart set up so that whether they're valves, reducers, or T's, they're going to automatically inherit that line name first, and then its specific designation second. So a couple of things that are important to piping designers in the oil and gas industry and other places is symbology and also designation are very important when it comes to this sort of thing. So carrying on, I'm going to add some more line. You'll notice that I have an automatic kind of teeing into this line here. Now you can set that up as to what that T, you can have it set as an OLED or a T or a reducing T. It just depends on whatever. It's all customizable, easy setup. I'm going to go ahead and update. You notice that it automatically inherited L1 again. I'm going to apply a data set to this and say, well, you might select your material type, and then you want to select your size, which is 2.5, and say OK, and that sort of thing. So we have automatic updating downstream as we're working here. Now, what I may want to do next is, the next thing I want to talk about are valves. And valves are very, very important in piping diagrams. So let's say that I go ahead and grab a ball valve. I'm going to turn this right, and you'll notice that it inlines into the line, becomes part of that part of that group, which is the overall pipeline. If I go ahead and say update, it'll automatically, now you'll notice it says L2. That's because this, so if I was to select the parent on this, you notice that the other stuff downstream isn't quite part of this line yet. So what we can do, they have a function in part of this tool called reparenting, and I can actually select that and say, no, I want to be part of the main pipeline. And it automatically now, when I update the labels, it automatically sees, okay, well, I'm valve whatever, but I'm L1 valve 1. And so it's important that it, automatically can update. Now, another thing you can do is you can easily manipulate your fibers around. Your labels are customized and all up for grabs. I'll show you as an example in here in the label. I'm exposing name, size, the schedule, and the material code, but you can really expose anything you want in these lines. So label updates and customization is, when I say customization, I don't mean like going out of the box. I mean in-the-box customization is pretty easy to do, and how to change the formatting for the way things are named and automatically named here. So working my way over, I may put another valve, I may come over here and do another valve and put it in line here. All right. And then finally, I'm going to make maybe an end cap right here. And then I'm going to reparent that to the main line so it's all part of the same line. So what I may do is go to Properties, Apply a Data Set, and you notice I have, so you would go through different selections, just like any other object, and do a couple of things here and put in the correct select your correct material, your correct pressure rating, maybe your end types, and then place it on the line like so. So I'm going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. I'm going to delete this valve here and show you how in the Catalog Explorer, the way I have it set up for this demonstration is we have a ball valve, and that valve, or I'm sorry, this valve right here is actually looking at one specific data table here that has a very simple list of valves in it, and that's all there is. Now, so there's two styles or methods of connecting these shapes and how you manage them, and it's all based on the workflow of how the user wants it. So what we can do is we have one shape hooked to one data table in this particular case. So when I place that down on the sheet, let's say, and I go to apply a data set, I only have these to choose from. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to narrow down that symbol to only have access to certain kinds of data when the operator's on the job. However, there is another way to do it. You can use in your Catalog Explorer, I could actually hook a valve to a multiple co-shapes and have this attached to all of your valve data. So one giant table with every valve you have. So this gives us a lot more flexibility. And why would I use that? Well, I'll show you why. So if I place this on my line here, and I go ahead and update, it updates my label and whatever. And then I say, well, actually, I'm going to apply a data set here. You're going to notice that I have a lot more to choose from. If I say next, I have a much larger list. So what I could say is, well, the size is going to be 2.5. I have two different valves to choose from here, and I'm going to say the first one, say OK. However, what I may want to do later is I may want to replace that graphical shape with another co-shape. Maybe it's a different valve altogether, right? And it's got different symbology. Remember I said symbology is really important in piping. So then I could also, in turn, change the data set out for another data set as well, possibly, and change it to be something different. So there's two ways to do it. You can, and this isn't just specific to valves, but I've seen this a lot with valves, is that people, they want to constrain the data that the operator has access to for that, as opposed to having a more of kind of a liberal way of doing it, which is more open. So you could say, well, I want all my valves in one table, and I want all my co-shapes that I'll use at the company hooked to one generic, what's called an artifact. So one artifact, multiple shapes, or we have this style, which is one artifact, one shape. And then there's combinations of both, and there's all kinds of things you can do. So that's just some things that you can do there that are makes it very, very flexible. All right. Now, let's say that I have, so once I have the pipeline, well, great, what can I do with it, right? Well, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about in that we can select the overall pipeline, which is the parent in this case, go to Properties, and I can apply an actual all-over top-level data set called a spec. Now, in spec-driven piping, the way that Creo Parametric and Creo Piping is set up with Creo P&ID is that to drive that with the schematic, you need to have spec-driven piping set up. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to use one of the specs I have here, and you'll notice when I apply the data set, it actually changes the color. So in spec-driven piping, we assign a color per spec, and you can actually kind of keep them the same if you want for visually. It's kind of a cool thing to have. So at a glance in your diagram, you look at it and say, well, I know what spec that is because it's assigned to that color clearly is that color, so I know what spec it is. And so visually, it's easy to see, quick to swap it out, and you can change it out for different colors, and you can tie that into your spec. All right. Another thing that we can do is let's talk about reporting. So we have a P&ID and we want to do some reports on it. What I can do is select the overall pipeline, and then I have a quick map key that basically runs a report here that I wanted to show you. So we could run a report. It basically gives me a report of everything that's on this line that is what I'm looking for. Now you'll see this one, if I zoom in, it actually says that's stainless steel, and that's actually the wrong material. So I can go to Properties right out of the report, and I can change that for maybe the right material, and then 2.5. All right. Then I can select the parent, and I can go ahead and run that one more time, and you'll notice that we have all carbon steel. And there may be other things that you're looking for, or you want to test on the line visually to get kind of a once over about it, to make sure that it's adhering to your spec that you're sending over to Creo Parametric. Now there's a lot more automation you can do that I don't have time to go into here to really control that spec even further, but out of the box that's a lot of kind of what it is. There's reporting, there's you can look at the information and some other things. You can even make it much smarter just depending on your workflow. But that's like at least one example of what you can do. Now, this report tool in the diagramming tool tray, in the data tool tray, you could say format a new report, and the report's really easy to use. You could say, am I doing properties? Am I looking in the catalog and the design? Am I looking for blocks? You can also do criteria, narrow down what you're looking for. You can sort it. You can expose what you want in the column like I did here from left to right. And then you can pull those out as an automatic table on your format. You can export a CSV. There's all kinds of things you can do with the reporting. So it's pretty powerful and integrated, and usually the implementations are such that you're building in attributes. As an example, if I go to Properties here, you'll notice that it has a part number, some other things, and it's got schedule rate. And I've got these things built in to search on later, so that, so based on what your requirements are and is important to you on the line, and combined with symbology and making it smart to react the way you want it to react is what's great about Creo Schematics P&ID. All right, let's talk about a few other high-level things that we can do. We talked about data tables. Let's talk about the naming format. In the catalog here, if I go to Properties, there's a property called Name Format, and you can really hot rod this however you want. I don't like a lot of demo magic, so I'll show you. Basically, this is right out of the box here. They give this to you to go ahead and pull. It's a little Java call. It says if it's in a container, in this case a pipeline, give me that name first, dash the VLV and the pound, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can basically rehash these however you want into whatever kind of naming convention you want. So it's pretty powerful there. Now, once I have the pipeline done and it looks pretty good and ready to go to 3D, I can then, so let's talk about what you can do with the information. I can export it, share it, merge it, manage it. So there's a lot you can do. Out of the, right away we have an overall pipeline. Now I want to share that with my Creo piping guy. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my XML button, and you could say piping and by selection, and you can validate that. And it says down here, no invalid export objects found. That means that it's ready to route and it's good to send over to the Creo parametric people so they can start doing that in 3D. All right. Another thing that's really key about, from a high level we talked already about, let's just talk about the central catalog. You can share the internal central catalog to a crew of 3 or more people or whatever, and they can all be looking at your symbology, and you could administer that and make sure your data is changing and that the rest of the crew is getting the benefit of that rollout, so they can then go in there and get their symbols and whatever. All right, another great thing that it has as far as sharing it is you can do wind chill integration. Now I don't have it turned on here, but because my VPN tends to slow down some of these demos, but basically what you can do is I can take this design just like it is right now, and I can check it in or check it out based on, I could check it right into Windchill, and so you can version it, share it. Furthermore, in Creo View, we don't have it set up here today, but it requires an ECAD plugin, I think, to manage it, but you can see the internal sheets of the actual design in Creo View. So check that out, and if you guys want more information on that, just reach out to us and we'll do a side demo for that. Take that offline. All right, so we have Central Catalog, we have Windchill. We can export a ton of stuff. So under File Export, we have Medusa, Drawing, DXF. We also have design sheets, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So there's a lot of powerful information here. Something to note with piping, I can send out several pipelines on the same sheet. So let's say I actually created another one for ducting, which I'm going to do, we'll be routing tomorrow, and terminate that. So what I have is I have maybe a ducting pipeline, I have another type of pipeline, and then maybe I have an electrical one that looks different. You can actually export all of those piping, all the pipes on this design, but on the 3D side, actually route them separately. So that's something that's really great to have for this as well. Okay, one of the highlights I really want to show today is the merging in Creo 2. They had a huge upgrade, and it's really a phenomenal thing. So I'm going to go ahead and close this design real quick. Not going to save it. I am going to open up this design right here again. So the design is, let's say the scenario is this is our design as it is today. And there's another person that's working lateral to me that actually is working on the same design, and they've done some additions overnight, and I want to bring that information in to this this design right here. What they've done is on their side of the fence, they said File Export, and they actually did a design sheets, and they sent that out to an actual sheet where they sent it as a file. So I'm going to go ahead and import that in. I'm going to say they have an importer here, and I'm going to say Design Sheets. I'm going to browse for that sheet, which is right here. And it's great. The first thing it checks for is the properties. Has there been any property changes? And there indeed has been one modified. And so I can investigate it. I can find out what it is, and it opens it up and tells me what if it's been an actual change to the component itself, that type of thing. All right. So with that known, I say OK and go to the next part, and it says, well, there's been a change to the sheet. So I want to actually open up that sheet comparator, and in the sheet comparator here, I can at a glance do what's called the diff report, and I could say, well, what was the original? Okay, that's my original. What's the imported one? Let me see both of them kind of overlaid, and then finally, what are just the changes coming in the door? So it gives me all of the changes in relation to what is actually coming in the door, as well as other things in here. You can go into the sheet where it was actually modified, that kind of thing. So it's very powerful from a merging of designs point of view on a multi-user level. So I'm going to say OK there and go ahead and say import. And it actually is going to upgrade my design, and it brings it in and upgrades it. And I think that was a phenomenal upgrade for Creo from the PTC guys. They did a great job there. So that, there's no ambiguity, like what isn't getting changed. Do I have to run another report? Now it's really, really super clear what the changes are. So that's one really huge thing that we have there. All right. So let me see here. I'm just looking at my list to make sure I haven't missed anything. I think that's the main thrust of the overview from a high level on some of it. So we have graphical shapes that are connected to data tables that are basically spreadsheets of information. So you have generic symbols but unlimited amounts of data behind it. And you can also separate those symbols from specific buckets of data or more general buckets of data. So there's that flexibility. There's customized workflow and customized user interface that can be rolled out to your entire environment. We have sharing through Windchill, where you can actually integrate this completely into Windchill and check it in as any other object, and then share that through Creo View, so they can look at it, look at the design as it's being reviewed, that type of thing. Ease of use, predictable workflow, and combined with smarts inside of the actual symbols themselves, where you can kind of easily, if you want to call it program it, but you program it to receive values from various sources, whether it's connected or from my data table. You can derive properties from all kinds of different areas, and most of it's in the help file, so easy to do. And then finally, you can share it, search it, report on it, and also merge it. So it pretty much covers every gambit of using P&IDs, and then the power to 3D makes it even better over the wall via an XML export. So that's about the overview of Creo Schematics with P&ID that we have today. I'd like to, at this point, throw it over to Beth to open up maybe some questions that we have. If there's any questions or anything that maybe people on the line have questions about.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take back
Yep.
the screen here.
Do you want me to? Do I hand it back to you, or do you just take it? Okay, there you go.
Got it.
So we have some time for questions today. I wanted to leave a little bit more time because sometimes there's not enough time.
Yeah. Well, great stuff. Yeah, we will we'll wrap up here, and we will open up the floor to a Q&A. We also have a short poll.
Okay.
So here's our wrap-up and Q&A. Just wanted to remind all of you on the call that we do archive all of our webcasts on our website. You can go to BWIR.com to be able to view them later, and you can also share them with others. And also be sure to visit the upcoming webcast tab on our website to register for our next PTC webcast. We have that scheduled for Wednesday, July 16th, and you'll get a first-hand look at what's new in Creo 3. So just a reminder, that's June 16th, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're very excited about that, to do a live demo of Creo 3. Also on our website, if you'd like to receive an email alert when Creo 3.0 is available in July, you can sign up for the alert at bwir.com, and we'll send you an email alert. This is also information about our PTC certified training. If you're looking for Creo or Windchill training, we also provide instructor-led training on-site in 8 training locations, with our newest in Portland, Oregon. We can also provide off-site and virtual training to fit your organization's needs. You can view our course schedule by city on our website, and also reach out to our national training manager, Jason Hardebeck, directly if you have any training questions or need help picking the right class. Okay. Before we go into Q&A, we're just going to get some feedback from our viewers with 3 short poll questions. So I'll launch those right now and read them out. Get these open. Okay, the first question is, do you currently use Creo piping? Great, I see about half and half here. Half current users, half not current users. Next question, if you do use Creo piping, do you use the libraries to automate the process? Okay. Most say they do utilize the libraries. And then the last one, was this presentation helpful for you? We want to make sure that all the information presented was useful for you. And again, if you have any further technical questions, you can always reach out to Zach directly. Okay, so we'll close up this last poll question. All right, now we'll open up the floor to Q&A. Let's see what we have here. Trying to get the window open. Hang on one second, Zach.
Yep.
Okay, what is the difference between schematics and schematics light?
Oh, I always get that question, yes. Okay, so there's a couple of main differences. I tell you what, there's a full list. Instead of going over all of them, there's a couple of blocks with importing and exporting, central catalog, Windchill, and some other things that I'm not 100% sure about if it packs to Windchill with light or not. It may. I don't want to misspeak there, but they've changed it a little bit over time. So if they reach out to me, I give them a full list. In fact, that's a very good question. I should have that on me. I'm digging around my files right now for that. So get the person's name. We'll definitely email you a full list. And also, if you go to the help files, I believe it's in there as well with Creo Schematics. But there's a list of importing that's blocked, or like DWGs or something like that. And then you can only have up to so many pages. I'm not exactly sure of how many. It's like 12 or 15 pages per design. I don't think you can have the central catalog, but I don't want to say I don't think. I want to know for sure. So I'll send you a list of that. I have a file somewhere. As we're going with more questions, I'm digging around my thing right now for that. See if I can find that. That's a very good question, though.
Okay. Another question we have coming through. I have created piping in Creo in the past, but only been able to include the piping in a group and not in an assembly. How do you save piping into an assembly?
In a group. Read that one more time. I'm sorry.
How do you save piping into an assembly versus in a group?
In an assembly. Well, okay, so there's two things. The lingo is in Creo Schematics it's what's called a group pipeline. So we are going to, it's a group type that has a fiber inside it that is called a pipeline. So groups can be made up of multiple shapes. The reason they do that is because you can drop symbols inside of that fiber and it does inline and it becomes part of that group. A group is equated with an assembly on the Creo side, but I'm not quite clear on his question in that on the Creo piping side you have a pipe route within an assembly. And so I'm not sure if that's, I'm a little unclear as to the question. But the way you do it is you send a group pipeline from Creo Schematics P&ID, you export it via XML, and then you start a new assembly in Creo, and you create, you go to piping module, and you create a new pipe within that assembly with the XML data that was sent over, but it depends on, I'd have to talk to him to get a little more clarity.
Okay. And yeah, I'll make sure that I forward all of these questions over to you, Zach, so you can talk with them offline.
Yes.
Another question, where can I find the symbols in Catalog Explorer? I currently have nothing under blocks.
Right, because when you start Creo Schematics out of the box, it's blank. You'll require a library or to make one or get one. Now, if you wanted to, you could open up, they actually give you what's called a demo DB under the load point, and that is under, well, let's say that you installed on CPTC under Creo 2. I'm digging down there now. Schematics. Let me look for something called the demo DB. Look for something called the demo DB that's been installed under your load point. In fact, there it is. So it'll be under wherever your install point is, Creo 2.0, schematics, and then / Creo Schematics, and then you'll see something called demo.rsd, which you can then unpack if you want. So you could, in your Creo schematic area, you could say File, Unpack Design, and go browse for that file, which is a .rsd. That's the same file that they check into Windchill and is versioned. Once you check that in, that'll get you started. Comes with a pretty good, I'm surprised they have a really great, robust catalog in there. So it's not too bad to get started with. But then you gotta, bring in your data, and there's some work there, but it gives you a good catalog to get started from at least.
Okay, great. Another question, what does P&ID stand for?
Right, Process and Instrumentation Diagrams.
Okay.
It's kind of a long name, but most people honestly call them piping schematics. But yeah, P&ID, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think those are all the questions we have coming through right now. If you have any other questions, like I said, you can reach out to Zach directly and just take it offline. We'd be happy to help. If you have any general inquiries or would like to talk with your local account manager, you can contact Jason Hardigut. He'll be able to point you in the right direction with who your closest account manager is. Also, if you have any training inquiries around this topic today, you can reach out to Jason, and he'll get you set up and take care of you as far as our training goes. We want to thank everyone for attending today, and please feel free to engage with us directly. We look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for our part 2 of our Creo webcast. We're going to talk about spec-driven piping tomorrow. That begins from 12 to 1 Central Standard Time. Okay, well, thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.